Hi, right. Today we're going to look at page selection, which is an important skill in CPPD. Page selection is important for one main reason, and that is that a spool file can contain many pages, and those pages can be split into many documents. For example, here is a 6-page spool file which contains 3 documents. The first document being a 1-page long, the second document being 3 pages, and the third page document being 2 pages. This could be invoices or statements, for example. First page selection or page splitting is how we can identify when one document ends and another document begins. If we can do that, then we can send different documents to different destinations, and we can also, in the design phase, do different things depending on which page we're on. For example, you may want to use a different overlay on the first page or add some terms and conditions after the last page. There is a special variable in the designer called page, which can equal certain special values depending on where we are in the spool file and in the document. On the first page of the spool file, the variable page will be equal to *start. On the last page of the spool file, it will be equal to *end. On the first page of a document, it will be equal to *first, and on the last page, it will be equal to *last. An interesting situation on a 1-page document at the start of a spool file, page would be equal to *start. It would also be equal to *first, and it would be equal to *last. So let's take a look at an example. Here is a sample PPD file which is 6 pages long, just like the diagram earlier. It starts with a 1-page document, then there is a 3-page document, and then there is a 2-page document. So to set up page selection on this, there are 2 techniques. Well, let's look at the most common, which is the not equal. If we look at this area, this is a remittance advice. You can see the customer account number here, COB0100. That obviously changes to COB01001 on the first page of document 2. It's then the same on page 2 and 3, but then changes to COB01006 on the first page of document 3. We can use that information to set up page splitting. Page splitting works by identifying an area on the page that changes. So if we look, that area is on column 89, line 13, width 14. If we go into the page setup for this design and then into the page, the conditional tab, we can define that the first page of a new document can be identified when this area is not equal. So column 89, line 13, width 14. What the server will do is on the first page of the spool file, it will take a note of what is in that area. And then whenever that area is not equal to on subsequent pages, it will mark that as the first page of a new document. So here on page 2 of the spool file, this area has changed to COB01001. The server will identify this as the first page of document 2. On page 3 of the spool file, that area has not changed, so that will be page 2 of document 2. And on page 4 of the spool file, again, it has not changed, so that will be page 3 of document 2. On page 5, it changes, and the server will identify this as being the first page of document 3. So there, page splitting has been set up. We can then use that information, for example, to put in a conditional test. On the conditional tab, change it to that special variable page on page equal to *first. Then, for example, we could output some text. This is the first page of the document. And that text will be output on the first page of document 1, 2, and 3, but not on pages 2 and 3 of document 2 or page 2 of document 3. So that's using an area of the input spool file that changes on the first page. There is also the option of selecting an area that remains the same on the first page, that is always the same. So the classic example of that is the page numbering. This document also has page numbering here. You can see on page 1 it's got a 1, on page 2 it's got a 1 because that's the first page of document 2, 2, 3, back to page 1 and 2 of document 2. So if we have a look at that area and go into page setup, and change the comparison area to where the page number is, we can change the equal to sign comparison type. So now the first page of a new document will be identified by the server when this area is equal to what the server finds on the first page of the spool file. So the first page of the spool file, it will find blank blank 1 in that area, and it will then, every time that that area is equal to blank blank 1, it will identify that as the first page of a new document. So on page 2 it's equal to blank blank 1, so that is identified as the first page of a new document. Not equal, not equal, and on page 5 it is equal to blank blank 1, so that is the first page of a new document. So that's input page splitting. The other crucial technique is for output page splitting, and this is where your output pages you want to split into, say, different emails to send to different customers, or different files to store in the doc store. And this is identical technique. It just takes place on the output pane. So for example, here we are outputting the customer account number. If we go down to, for example, the email output device, first page selection uses the envelope tools on the output devices. This envelope, we have placed it over the customer account number, and we've set the type to first page here. Then we can just go into the output device, set up on the page tab. Again, we're using a not equal to test, and on the comparison data that has already been filled out by the address element. So now with that set up, the 3 documents that we have in this spool file will be split up and potentially sent to 3 different destinations. The destination is being picked up using this address element, and that will be why all address elements operate on the first page of the document, because that gives us a chance to change the address elements on a per document basis. So if that area is different on document 2, then this email will go to a different destination. And that is that for page splitting in PPD Design. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you've got any questions, do give us a call or email us on support@cobweb.com. Till next time, cheers.